Hello everyone, welcome to the temple. We've been going through some renovations and different changes over the past few weeks, but I hope you'll like it. I know we do, and we're starting to really ramp up, especially with this fire horse energy blazing forth with no care at all. Okay, so the absolute. What is the absolute? Before we get into the definitions of the absolute, let's go over a few things about the absolute. The absolute is the seventh plane of the spiritual hierarchy. It is the highest. Underneath it is the monad, the monadic plane, and then the atmic plane, and then the nirvanic and Buddhic and mind, soul, body, something like that. It corresponds to the first ray of the seven rays, which is active will and everything related to that, which we will discuss in a minute. So, what is the absolute? There is no power greater than the absolute. It's the highest, as we just said. In fact, without an absolute, we would not even exist, because the absolute is the complete non-existence of all things. So, if you want to look at it on an opposite side or a different polarity, if I said this notebook is all that there is, not all that there isn't, but all that there is, then everything else, me, my chair, my room, everything else would dissolve and fade away like it never happened, and all you would get is this. But then at that point in time, even the notebook itself would lose its own identity and its own description, for in the absolute there is no other thing but the absolute. So the absolute is the complete non-existence of all things. It is the concept that there is no existence beyond itself, the absolute, as well as this life or the universe. In it, there is no God, not even an idea of one, let alone an entire universe. But having said that, it also gives life a reason to exist. And from its stubborn void of despair, the universe, life, even consciousness itself springs forth. Our consciousness and our life and our universe exists from the very possibility of its non-existence, and revolves around ideas such as survival, sustenance, and the need for harmony. So basically, from this idea that there is no existence whatsoever beyond this reality, we derive our very need for survival. We derive love. We derive beauty. Because without this constant foreboding force, powerful force of the absolute, we would not even understand what true life, true love, and true beauty really meant. Without an absolute, we would simply sleep, or our consciousness would, because there would be no reason to even thrive or even move in an infinitely perfect universe. Our very motions and movements alone are products of the absolute, because we are moving constantly to improve. We're moving constantly to sustain in this life. We're moving constantly to hold on to our relationships, our love, everything, our very minds, our everything. So it's from this absolute, this idea that it could all go away at the snap of a finger, that we derive life itself. Things that we know, things would lose their depth, sense of depth and beauty, because without an absolute, life wouldn't be so beautiful. We would not value true beauty. We would not value love, wisdom, anything like that, or anything else, because it is the very absolute force of will that defines all those things. Okay, so at the center of our galaxy is a massive black hole of absolute power. Nothing exists inside of a black hole. And it is this very concept which creates a negative polarity forcing systems and stars to revolve around it. So, and that's the macrocosm rather. Now down on the microcosmic level, at the very center of our consciousness, as well as our hearts, is a black hole. And our very thoughts revolve around it in spiraling centrifugal motions. And without it, they would just fly away or simply cease to be. Our consciousness is like a bubble, is like a black hole of dark nothingness space, which creates the need for our very thoughts and consciousness to actually form and begin to revolve around it, just like our Milky Way. As above, so below. So our thoughts would just fly away or cease to be. In fact, this black hole exists at the very center of all things, even our hearts. Our very emotions revolve around feelings such as non-existence, despair, and death. So the absolute creates our own emotional response and our own feelings that we have, because we know this is life. And on the other side of life, there is no life, which is the absolute. And it introduces doubts and like there could be no God beyond this place because everything just ends. So the absolute literally controls everything because it's at the center of everything. Our minds, our hearts, our universe, our life, our world, everything. So it controls everything, but it also gives the universe and the life a reason to exist. It also gives belief to exist. For without the idea of there not being a God, God would not exist. God himself is like a double polarity. He exists within his own non-existence, if you will. And so just as if the idea of there not being a God, God would not exist. So without the idea of not self would not exist. So ourselves as well, and corresponding to God or the great I am, living presence, exists in the idea of its own non-existence. So even further down on the microcosmic level, we get electromagnetism. Okay, in electromagnetisms, protons are the particles of positive light energy, just like our thoughts and just like the stars revolving around the galaxy. But they are stagnant unless there is an electron, which is a negatively charged particle, to create movement and get the ball rolling. In other words, if we looked at protons as heaven would just be a stagnant realm of obscurity without the electron, hell, moving it and giving it a reason to exist. So it always begins with, in this regard, it always begins with hell and always begins with the electron. That's the absolute. All movement and all things are pushed and bent to the will of the absolute. So hell, the electron is moving the proton, giving it a reason to move and charge with energy and exist. And also on our planet, every plant, flower, and form of life would not exist had they not grown from out of the fertile soil or the underworld of our planet, where the dead are buried and the corpses of decaying life creates fertilizer for these very seeds. So the absolute and the black holes of our consciousness and everything are like fertile soil from which seeds are born out of dead, dying matter and dying particles of negative energy created by the absolute. Oh, and I was just thinking too, wombs also are they're like a black empty space of absolute will energy. So without that negative polarity of a womb, there could be no fertile soil for a baby or child to grow. So it is the absolute itself which creates such fertile soil for new life to be born. It also introduces the creative aspect, and also as well as the fourth ray of harmony through conflict, where the spirit of inspiration and creativity flourishes. It awakens in the hearts of artists, innovators, and creators. So, like what we were talking about for the past 10 minutes, this absolute creates that very beauty that survives and sustains and victors over it in the long run. So from this beauty we get the fourth ray. If we skip the other two, we get the fourth ray of harmony through conflict, because the conflict introduced by the absolute creates the need for us to adapt as the third ray, and to ultimately harmonize and synthesize, creating this very creative, potent energy and substance, which we too can wield as creators and as artists and explorers, and the whole spectrum. So it's actually a really great thing and necessary thing to have. So the fourth ray of harmony through conflict is the spirit of inspiration and creativity flourishing, so on and so forth. The absolute is the highest plane of energy, as we said at the beginning, and it also corresponds to the first ray belonging to divine will. We already discussed that. This will, especially with its dark, despairing energy of absoluteness, creates the space from which life and humanity can come together and harmonize, and to show the absolute just how powerful, creative, and bright we can truly shine. So we shine brighter from the energy created by the negative aspect of the absolute. So though the absolute may seem terribly negative, it is actually the source of all things. And from its fertile emptiness, the flowers of our reborn spirits can be born anew. It's the O. You could say it's the O principle. It's the omega, but also it's the alpha. Its power is the alpha current. So from it, it's actually the great source of all things. If you swap the polarities for a second, you could also see the dark space of the absolute being the infinite blinding realm of eternal light. And we, in fact, are the darkness in physical form. So it represents the utmost beauty that any being or any life could possibly be. For it is all of those things. Okay, so you can look at it in a bunch of different ways to try and achieve that equilibrium between the two poles. There's so many different ways you could look at that. Okay, so the fire horse, this year, the year of the fire horse, is a symbol of the absolute first ray will energy in full activation and motion. And of course, it naturally created a sense of fear and Armageddon going on right now. But that was only to help brush the dust and the moss off of us so that we too can get rolling and truly tap into our creative, innovative, harmonizing fourth ray energy of this Aquarian age of great activity. So the time is now. The powers are there. It's all there. All the tools are there for us. All we have to do is awaken that energy and get the ball rolling, get running with the horse, and we can truly transform ourselves as well as the world. And we can also create a sense of harmony and unity for this new transition. So thank you all for your time. Like and subscribe. I love the subscribers. I just now started getting some, and I'm like so happy. But thank you all. You all have a great day.